Welcome to Strange Occurrences, Abnormal Tales with a Gen X twist. I am Rose Stone, also known as Miss Reish Life on all the socials, where I talk simply luxurious lifestyle on a budget, shopping, recipes, all that great stuff. You can check out my blog, Reish Life, which the link is in the description of my YouTube channel, which you can catch through this link. And if you guys want to subscribe to this channel, to the YouTube, that would be awesome. I have 10 subscribers so far, and if I get 40 more, I can go live on YouTube as well and do this simultaneously. So before I get started, I just want to address my shirt. This is the coolest shirt I have ever owned. I got it for $12.99 today at TJ Maxx. Put up a video about it. I think the brand is called True Love. I can't remember right now, but it is a little cropped, really sweet little button down, and it's got some cats wearing glasses. And I love it. So if you're a bargain shopper, you've got to hit up TJ Maxx. Also, if you're wondering, I am wearing Wonder Skin Lip Blade in the shade XOXO. I put it on this morning. I have not had to retouch it at all. It's still on. I think I put it on around 10 a.m. and it's 7 p.m. I still have color on my lips. You can check that out in my showcase. And what else? NYX Buttermelt Blush I'm wearing in Had Butter. So if you guys are curious as to what's going on with the look, I have tried to do this podcast without my glasses, but I cannot. And of course, if you do miss it or miss parts of it and want to catch up, you will find it within 24 to 48 hours up on Spotify if you have a subscription there, and YouTube, which you don't have to subscribe, but would be awesome. So let's talk strange occurrences. I've been talking Mandela effects up the wazoo, so I needed to switch it up a little bit. And since I'm living in the Catskill Mountains, I have to say, weird things happen in the Catskill Mountains. We had some rain here recently, like just this afternoon, and it came down really hard. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we started hearing rumbling that sounded like thunder, but there was no more rain and the clouds were gone. So it was really weird. And, we see some kind of weird lights in the sky sometimes. And you've heard me talk about Pine Bush, New York, which is about 3 miles from here. And they are one of the UFO capital sightings in the world, not just the country, in the world. And every June, they host the Alien Festival, which is the second largest alien festival in the world, in the country, except for Roswell, New Mexico, and a lot of guest speakers who have had movies and, all sorts of things written about them, written books themselves, abductees. They will go and they will speak. And in the town of Pine Bush, there is the Paranormal and UFO Museum. So it's not just about UFOs. They deal in cryptids, because around here, cryptids may exist. I don't know, but there's a lot of shows where scientists do go and actually hunt and look for evidence of a Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti. Or if you are a fan of the Trailer Park Boys, and this shirt reminds me of Bubbles, and he always calls Sasquatch a Sam Squanch, you will know that, this is a worldwide thing. But I found a story very close to home, because I live on a mountain, basically, and I have a huge cliff above me that's part of the property, and attached to that is state land that's all protected. But I get to go hiking on my own land if I want to climb up this 160-degree mountain, which I do up and down. It's a great workout. This one time we went up there, and there was a live tree. I do have a video of it somewhere on my TikTok. I will have to find it. But the tree was actually snapped off about, 2 to 3 feet from the base and thrown in a direction that it would not have fallen in. Like the way it snapped, right? So it was like, let's say it was going to fall to the left because it snapped from the right. It was actually thrown back like over the right, so the pieces didn't line up. So I took video of it. It was really weird. And then we hear 2 or 3 sticks all the time just coming out of the woods. Sometimes I click my own sticks back to see if they answer, but they don't. And then we hear not just like hums and weird things, but we hear like the yells, the calls, those like scream things that you hear, the humans that are going out and investigating the Sasquatch. You will hear that, and you can't tell where it's coming from because it's the mountains. So everything echoes from a different direction, but it is loud and it is really, really just so creepy. And there's sometimes where I am in my backyard and it's dark at night, especially in the winter when it starts getting dark at like 4 p.m. And I just feel like I'm being watched. We all feel like we're being watched, and the dogs will freak out. And it's just, it's so, so creepy. And it's not just me that says this. So there is a radio station, 107.7 GNA. It's New Country, Albany. I don't know this radio station. That's a little further north than me. Albany is the capital of New York State. But this tells the story of the upstate urban legend of a monster terrorizing small towns and communities throughout upstate New York. So it goes on to say that there's endless acres of dark woods, lakes, and streams. The capital region has had its fair share of paranormal, alien, Loch Ness monster, and Bigfoot sightings throughout the years, but an urban legend emanating from the Catskill area of New York is one legend that haunts locals to this day. And this is called the Kinderhook Creature. So if you haven't heard of the Kinderhook Creature, a lot of people have not. So this goes back to the 1980s. So if we have any Stranger Things fans out there, Gen Xers out there, this is from our time. So legend has it that back in the 1980s, a large Bigfoot-like creature stalked and terrorized families in upstate New York and beyond. And to this day, residents in the Catskills stand by claims made decades ago of the terror caused by the Kinderhook Creature. Now, a lot of people, when I'm driving these roads, they will have wooden cutouts that look like black bears, but also like Bigfoot. They're like 8-10 feet tall, and they're just painted black, so it looks like a Bigfoot shadow out there in the woods. It's really interesting because you'll drive by, you're like, what did I just see? And a lot of people put those out, and there's a reason. Like, why would they make Bigfoot cutouts? Very, very, very interesting. So there's a book, and the book is called The Kinderhook Creature and Beyond, and it was released with more details about the strange occurrences decades ago. I did not do that on purpose. I had no idea that they wrote Strange Occurrences, and that is the name of my podcast. So in it, author Bruce Hassett unfolded near the foothills of the Catskill Mountains. Kinderhook residents should be familiar with spooky tales of headless horsemen, ghosts, and fairies, but in the 1980s, the town became home to a new type of fright, the Kinderhook Creature, the Bigfoot-type hominid that terrorized families and was reported all over the country and beyond, just in the Catskills. But this particular story, since it's right here, we're in the Catskills. So 40 years ago, an independent film crew called Small Town Monsters. Oh, and does anyone watch Mountain Monsters? They are awesome. You've got to watch that show. It's wild. So an independent film crew called Small Town Monsters has been exploring these urban legends since 2015. And there's a video that takes a deeper look into the Kinderhook Creature, including a visit to some folks in the area who claim to have audio proof of their harrowing events 40 years ago. Because remember, we did not have cell phones that recorded things. And, if you had your recorder your VHS like camcorder. It was pretty much the size of what like a professional cameraman uses, and you had to put your whole VHS tape in there and carry it on your shoulder. And it took video, it worked, but there you go. We just didn't have what we have today. So audio proof means that they must have had a cassette player that could record, and a blank cassette tape. So the video even shows a time when, back in the day, Mark Mulholland from News Channel 13 paid a visit to Kinderhook to find out more. Most of the eyewitness accounts date back to the mid to late 1980s, and to this day, residents stand by the claims that they were stalked by an aggressive beast. And this goes on about decades of torment, decades. So Bruce Hallenbeck went back to his hometown and spoke with family members about the day they heard noises from the alleged creature who said tormented them for years. So what they're saying is this is an intelligent creature. And if you do follow any of these scientific teams that go looking for evidence of Bigfoot, you'll see that they are looking for feeding areas, and they're looking for what could be beds and things like that, nesting areas. So they are intelligent creatures. So it goes on to say sometimes the noises sounded like a squealing pig, yeah, and other times they say it sounded more like a pterodactyl. That actually sounds very familiar to me. Even playing an old audio tape from 40 years ago. Oh, and one more thing about the Kinderhook creature, a witness said it has red eyes. So this isn't your normal. Now there is a whole video here on YouTube. So I'm going to check out and link it to the YouTube channel and the Spotify so that you guys can read this and check out this video for yourselves. So this goes on to say that that's about the Kinderhook creature. So let me just go and find another little like red or something and see what happens. Has anyone heard of the Kinderhook creature out there? Do you know anything about this? Or has anyone had an experience when they're in the woods, when you've been camping, anything like that with a particular kind of creature? Anyone out there? So now on Reddit, this is very interesting because calling it the Kinderhook creature on Reddit, they're calling it the Kinderhook blob, one of upstate New York's strangest legends. Oh, so this is something else. This isn't even the Kinderhook creature. And this goes on to say from Redditor Dollycat55, I'm not sure if this counts as a cryptid since it shares characteristics of a stereotypical ghost. The shape is pretty odd, with the figure being a cartoon-like, similar to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So Kinderhook, it sounds like might be like a vortex for something out there. So that is really interesting. And let's see what other Redditors say, because there's actually 0 comments on that post. Interesting. What do you guys think? Have you ever experienced anything like paranormal in the woods, hiking, any of that? All right, so I have another Reddit that says, I think I saw the Kinderhook blob monster once. This is really interesting. This is very strange. So Human Still 6949 says, I'm just going to get straight to the story because this is going to be quite a long one. Also, I don't care if you believe me or not. The purpose of this is to post to see if I'm not alone experiencing something like this in recent years. So if you have had some kind of experience, listen up. This did not happen very long ago. It's very recent. So it goes on to say, if you have any questions about the story, feel free to ask. I'd love to answer them. It began in late winter 2017. It was a cold, windy, sunny, and dry day. I was also sick at the time. I had dry throat that morning. On that day, I wanted to plan on building a shed in the middle of the woods to hang out. I don't know. I was 15 at the time. Plus, it would have been a fun project to do for the years. So anyways, I walk into the woods alone and eventually made it to the edge of the property, which is at the top of a hill with a flat ground. And on that hill, I was able to see pretty far into the woods. Note, it was around February, so all the trees lost their leaves, making it really easy to see through the woods. There was also a barn and some houses not too far away from where I was, and I had a good viewpoint throughout their property. So within 3 minutes of finding a good spot to put that shed, I started hearing a 5-note whistle way in the distance. Deep into the woods, I took it that there was someone else in the woods with me. Note, the woods that is my backyard is huge and expansive, and hundreds of different properties border the woods. So it's not uncommon to find hunters and trespassers wandering through the woods. But anyways, I see no one and go back to what I was doing, but the whistle kept getting louder, almost like whoever it was getting closer to me. So I looked around again, but I see no one still. I didn't even hear footsteps too, which I found very odd. Note, this whistling was like less than 100 feet from me at this point, so whoever it was clearly coming towards me, and I didn't find one piece of evidence to where it was. I look over to the nearby house and barn, and I still see no one. Now it gets interesting. I started hearing the whistling so close to me, I almost felt like it was 5 feet away from me, and the whistling was circling around me. Now, at that point, I was getting a bit spooked, so I started to walk out of the woods and to my house. To be honest, I felt like I was in a bit of a trance for some reason. I wasn't freaking out, just spooked. When I was halfway to my house, I decided to look up, and that's when I saw it. A gray humanoid figure circling above me counterclockwise. Not too shortly after that, I made it out of the woods and onto my backyard. The whistling suddenly stopped, and the flying gray thing was gone, like vanished as if nothing happened. I suddenly smelled roses too after that. To this day, those backyard woods scare me, and I hate being near them when I'm not alone, especially at night. I always took the encounter as paranormal, and the gray thing being an angel protecting me for many years, which helps explain why I felt like I was in a trance, plus the rose smell. But it wasn't until recently, a few months ago, that I was reading about local cryptids in the Hudson Valley, and that's when I heard about the Kinderhook blob monster, and there was connections to the blob monster encounter and mine. A floating blob or humanoid. It whistles from the same region, not too far away from other encounters too. This also explains why I didn't see or hear footsteps, because I was looking on the ground and it was flying through the trees. Oh, and a lot of people ask the question, could it have been a bird? And the answer to that is no. The whistling was breathy, like human whistling. So it's very interesting. This is the first I am hearing of the Kinderhook blob. This is one of the weirdest things ever, but here we are in the haunted Hudson Valley, the haunted Catskill Mountains. There is a lot of paranormal around here, all over the place. There's actually still a few haunted hotels around here that are working that you can stay at, and I'll get to that at another time. But really interesting. So any of you out there, have you had any sort of experience? Did you know about the Kinderhook blob? Have you had an experience with something like this in the woods? Not in your home, like out in the woods where it's creepy all the time. I don't like the woods past like a certain hour. I just think deliver it. No, dear, no. So that is a pretty interesting urban legend. But I know that there are other Bigfoot sightings in the Catskills. And on a website here called squatchable.com. There is an article that goes to say, Catskill Bigfoot researchers reveals track findings and theories. So this was written by the Squatchable staff, and this was written actually very recently, February 29th, 2024, leap year. So this goes on to say, Bigfoot researchers get ready for a fascinating story coming out of the Catskill Mountains in upstate New York. A dedicated boots-on-the-ground researcher, Charles Andrews, has been conducting full-time research in the area for a year, and his findings are nothing short of intriguing. Charles Andrews, a Bigfoot researcher from the Catskill area, has been the leading Catskill Mountain Bigfoot research team. With a minimum of 5 days a week spent in the field to gather an abundance of knowledge and information regarding the Bigfoot species in the Catskill Mountains. His research has led him to work on multiple family groups and areas inhabited by these elusive creatures. So I might not be so wrong when I hear those sticks clapping and I see those trees broken. And I saw a bunch of them on the side of the road one day. Big trees. I'm not talking like a little tree that you just planted. I'm talking this tree's got to be like 20, 30 years old. It's got a big trunk in there, just snapped about 2 to 3 feet from the roots. It's so weird, and it's always a crooked snap. It's not a clean snap like a saw. Weird. And we always hear trees fall here out of nowhere. And I'm like, how many trees can just fall down out of nowhere? So if a tree does fall in the forest and you're not around to hear it, it makes a noise because I'm the only one around to hear it, and there's a noise. But let's get back to this. During his year-long research, Charles discovered something incredible. Multiple family groups of Catskill Mountains. By measure the length and width of the tracks, he was able to identify certain track sizes that only stayed in specific areas. This discovery led him to believe that there are multiple family groups of Bigfoots living in the region. This is very interesting. So Charles's journey into Bigfoot research began after watching the documentary Discovering Bigfoot. Intrigued by what he saw, he started researching and learning about signs, symbols, and how to read topographic maps. Soon after, he and his buddy went on a hike and discovered 18-inch tracks in the snow, which led them to believe that they were on the right track. The excitement didn't stop there. Charles's mother also reported seeing Bigfoot tracks near her home in Catskill, New York. With this information, Charles and his team went back to the area and found even more evidence of Bigfoot. Charles's dedication to Bigfoot research is truly inspiring. He spends a significant amount of time in the field, braving all kinds of weather conditions to gather evidence and learn more about these elusive creatures. His findings in the Catskill Mountains are a testament to the fact that Bigfoots are out there, and with more research and dedication, we can learn even more about them. If you're interested in learning more about Charles Andrews and his research, be sure to check out the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel. You can also follow him on his website, The Cryptid Huntress, and his YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. So this is really interesting because there's more and more evidence, not just in the Catskill Mountains, but in other regions of the United States, that these creatures do exist. So I will be linking all of these articles and websites and everything to YouTube and to Spotify so that you guys can check these out as well. And with that, I am going to thank all of you guys for joining me tonight. If you want to check the YouTube channel and go to the description, you can also subscribe to my blog where you can get a bunch of different recipes and things. And I'm just going to give you guys a little secret. This is one of my kitchen secrets. So every time I bake, and I'm really a terrible baker, I think, but I can do a few things. I replace oil with ricotta cheese. You could also use cottage cheese as well, but it's got a little more protein and the right amount of fat. And what it does is it makes everything very spongy and cake-like if you use it in cakes or brownies. And then it makes a delicious cheesecake if you're doing it that way. So if you want any more recipes like that, you can go to the Riche Life website, sign up. There's no money for that ever. It's just a bunch of articles that I've written about health and wellness and all the good things that I know, some of my favorite recipes, and a few links to affiliate shopping that I know. That's all of that. But let's get back to the idea of Bigfoot, Sasquatch. Tell me what you think, guys. Have you had an experience and believe? Did you not believe before you had an experience? Do you still not believe in cryptids or Sasquatch or anything like that? So I am going to sign off for this episode and this live. Don't forget, you can catch this within 24 to 48 hours on both Spotify and YouTube. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Strange Occurrences Live, Abnormal Tales with a Gen X twist. I will see you guys on the next one. Love, peace, and hair grease.